guys, welcome back to my channel. So it is time yet again for the beauty report. I don't understand how that's possible. Like, it's October 1st, tomorrow. How? Now, if you're new here to my channel, this video is basically a monthly series that I do. It's a roundup of my thoughts on a bunch of products that I've been trying out for the last month. I also like to rope in like any updates, news, things that might be pertinent to you guys in the beauty world. And like most of my videos, they generally tend to be epically long. So I would recommend grabbing a snack, grabbing a drink, because we're gonna be here together for a while. I am currently sipping on hot cinnamon spice tea from Harney & Sons. It's delicious. So anyway, with that being said, I've got a lot to tell you guys about today, so let's get into the video. So before we get into the actual reviews, I have a couple of things that I wanted to tell you guys about. First of all, the lip that I'm wearing right now is the Too Faced Melted Matte liquid lipstick in the shade Pumpkin Spice from last year's holiday set. Now, in case you guys missed it, I filmed a video maybe a week or two ago sharing some makeup products that I'm really excited about wearing this fall. Some of them are new, some of them were, old things from my collection that I was pulling back out again, and I completely forgot about this set. I'm pretty sure I didn't talk about it, but after doing that video, I found these in a drawer and was like, oh my god, these are amazing, they smell so good, they're so cute, and so I've been really enjoying wearing them in the last week or so. So this is more of a beauty public service announcement from me to you. If you own this set from last holiday season and you forgot about it, go bust out of your collection and use these again. So another lip product related thing that I just discovered within the last week that is making me nervous. I don't know what's up, but I figured I would let you guys know. So all of the amuse-bouche lipsticks from Bite Beauty are marked 50% off at Sephora. Now, if you're somebody who's been subscribed to me for a long time, you know I really love this formula. I've recommended it many times over the years. They are like ultra pigmented, super creamy bullet lipsticks. It's like just a very classic formula. They smell good. They're made with all food grade ingredients, so you don't have to worry about ingesting all kinds of weird chemicals when you're using one of these. This is the shade Sweet Cream, by the way, that I'm swatching, and this is one that I've had for a while, but I actually just picked up 2 new shades because 50% off. How could I resist? So I got this shade, which is Verbena. It's maybe a little bit darker than Sweet Cream is, kind of like a dusty rosy peach tone. I thought that would be really pretty. And then I got Meringue, which is a really nice nude. But I don't know what them being marked down 50% off means. I've seen a lot of Bite Beauty products being marked down and they're not being restocked, which leads me to believe the brand is trying to sell off whatever they have left. And knowing that they've seemingly discontinued their amuse-bouche liquefied lips and the lip pencils and now maybe these guys as well, I hope the brand is not in trouble because I absolutely love Bite Beauty. But I'm also kind of nervous for this formula because I love these lipsticks so much. So even if the brand is okay, if they're planning on discontinuing these and maybe launching something else, I hope it will be as good because this is one of the best lipstick formulas ever. And then the last thing is an announcement for me and my channel that I am really excited about, and I want you guys to have a heads up so you know what the deal is. But I mentioned in a Getting Ready With Me video a couple of weeks ago that I'm going to be partnering with Moda pretty much through the end of the year. I'm not sure exactly the time frame that all my videos will be going up, but I'm working with them to create a bunch of educational videos for their brushes and their brush sets. My understanding of how it's going to work is that they're going to be putting those QR codes you can scan with your phone on the packaging of the brush sets that are sold in Walmart. So if you buy a brush set and you scan the little QR code, it will take you to my video that will show you how to use the brush set. Now, this is a new thing that they're doing. It's totally an experiment. We're not really sure how it's going to work. As far as I know, that's still the plan. Either way, I'm definitely still creating the videos, demoing each of the different brush sets. So those videos will be going up on my channel in the coming weeks. They're not going to replace my regular content. They're going to be in addition to my regular videos because, you know, obviously with them being sponsored videos, I don't want like my channel to just feel like it's a bunch of advertisements. But I thought it was a really cool opportunity. You guys know how much I enjoy Moda. I recommend their brushes all the time, and I know a lot of you guys really enjoy using them. So hopefully if you already like have the brushes that I'm demoing, you'll find my tutorials that I'm doing helpful. Or even if you don't have them, if you're in a place where you're thinking about maybe picking some up but you're not sure like which set would be the best for you, maybe seeing them demoed will be helpful. Either way, I just wanted to let you guys know that it's happening because a bunch of videos that are about Moda brushes are going to start popping up in your subscription feed, and if you're like, what the heck is going on? Why is this girl doing like 5 different videos with Moda? That would be why. Alright, so I think that's all that I have for you guys as far as news and such. Let's get into the reviews. So I'm sure many of you guys are aware that this summer was like the summer of foundation. There were so many complexion products being launched, and I kind of steered clear of the most popular ones because I just felt like the community was a little bit saturated with reviews. Like, you guys didn't need to see another video about the ABH foundation or the Dose of Colors one or the Fenty one. So I tested out 2 of the like more off the beaten path foundations in the last month, and I have quite a few thoughts to share on them. So the first one is the Flesh Beauty Pure Flesh Foundation. This guy is sold at Ulta. And the second one is the Pretty Vulgar Cool AF Foundation, which is sold at Sephora. Now, price point wise, the Flesh Foundation is a little bit cheaper. This guy retails for $32. The Pretty Vulgar retails for $39. You get a teeny bit more product in here. It's 1.18 fluid ounces. This guy is just a standard fluid ounce, but for the most part, they're basically about the same. And the Flesh Foundation here is a water-based foundation, so it actually does not contain any silicones in it. It's also free of alcohol and synthetic fragrances, so it's supposed to be good for sensitive skin. Whereas the Cool AF foundation, even though it does say it's like a lava water foundation, this guy does still have silicone in the formula. It's also infused with charcoal to help to control oil. So of the 2 of these, the Pretty Vulgar is like a clear favorite. I really have been enjoying this foundation a lot. The Flesh one, I don't think I would recommend to you guys just because I've had too many issues with it. The thing about the Flesh foundation is that it's a very finicky formula. Sometimes I can get it to look okay, but a lot of the times I feel like the coverage is very sheer, and it's meant to be a medium coverage foundation, but I don't even think I would consider it medium. I would say it's more on the light side. And I think because it has no silicones that kind of smooth and glide over the skin, it really can enhance dry patches and flakiness. So I feel like if I'm having a really good skin day, sometimes I can apply this and it doesn't look so bad. And, you know, even though the coverage is light, I don't mind it too much. I can put concealer on the areas where I need a little bit more coverage, and then once I powder it and set everything down, it doesn't look too bad. But I can't say that it makes my skin look incredible, and I don't feel like it's necessarily more long wearing than some of my other products. A lot of the reason why I wanted to try this is that I was just curious how my skin would react to a foundation that didn't have silicone, if it would make my skin less oily, because your girl has very, very oily skin. But I honestly didn't feel like this wore any better than most of my other matte foundations. It's like one of those things where it's fine, but for $32, like if you're already looking to buy a high-end foundation, this is not the one that I would say you should buy first. Now, the Pretty Vulgar, on the other hand, is insanely full coverage. This is like porcelain doll skin, like blanking everything out. And even though it has a matte finish, it's more of that like satin matte, so it doesn't look super cakey and dry on the skin. It's one of those little goes a long way, super flawless type of foundations, and I really, really do like the way my skin looks when I wear this. I also feel like it wears decently well on me. I'm always gonna get shiny after a few hours, but I feel like I can go, you know, a solid 4 or 5 and my skin looks really nice and natural with like just a slight sheen, and I'm not like greasy. The downside to this is the shade range sucks. I'm not gonna lie, there's just not enough shades of this foundation. And honestly, part of it's probably Pretty Vulgar's not a super big brand. Maybe they couldn't afford to launch this with like 50 shades, but I would really like to see them expand it because the formula is really good, and the color that I picked up, which is Unveiled Queen, I feel like the undertone is right, but it's just a little too dark for me, and there wasn't really anything else that was lighter that I felt like would have worked. Flesh, on the other hand, has a really comprehensive shade range. They launched with, I think, 40 something different colors of this, and they span from like ultra porcelain light to very, very deep. So I honestly wish I could have like reversed that and had the shade range of this in this formula, then that would have been perfect. But alas, that's not reality. So what I've been doing is actually mixing these two guys together, because Unveiled Queen, now that I'm not, at the height of having a tan, it's definitely a little bit too dark on me. I also find this formula oxidizes, which just like exacerbates the problem. But this guy was a little bit too light for me, so it actually is pretty perfect when they are mixed together on my skin. It's actually what I'm wearing on my face right now. And the nice thing is that the Flesh cuts down the coverage of this, which makes the whole thing look a little bit more natural. So for every day, wearing the two of these together has been kind of nice. But I would not recommend that you go out and buy both of these to mix them. If anything, I would say if you are in the market for a very full coverage foundation, something that's super long wearing, this one is really, really nice. So if you find a shade that's like a close enough approximation to your natural skin tone, just know you can mix it with another foundation you already have that maybe doesn't have enough coverage. And then you can kind of temper the shade a little bit while also keeping that nice, beautiful, flawless finish. Now, while we're still on the topic of complexion, I actually have a bunch of stuff from Too Faced that I've been testing out. I actually went to a brand event in Boston at the very beginning of September, and they gifted me everything from their Born This Way collection. And previously, I had used the multi-use sculpting concealer. If you guys have been watching my videos, you've seen me talk about this before, recommend it before. I really love this concealer. It's very full coverage, but it's not overly drying. It doesn't look cakey. It's a beautiful concealer. I like it a lot. But I'd never tried anything else from the line before, so I have been using them off camera a bunch, trying to formulate my thoughts on things. I've got the Born This Way foundation that they gifted me, the Ethereal loose setting powder, the multi-use complexion powder that they launched, I think, earlier this year, and then their Mr. Perfect foundation brush. Now, most of these products are not new. The foundation especially has been around for years, and this was like an OG YouTuber favorite. I remember so many people talking about this and saying, good things about it. But honestly, the only person I've seen use it on camera anytime recently was Jacquie Ina, because she collaborated with Too Faced to release some new shades. So I was really curious to finally get to try this, especially in the context of, trying all these other foundations and hearing about what's new on the market. So if you don't know the deal with this guy already, or you haven't tried it before, it is meant to be a medium to full coverage foundation. It has a very natural satin skin-like finish, and it's supposed to have a really lightweight texture that's essentially undetectable on the skin, hence it being named Born This Way. And honestly, I would say this foundation is pretty true to its claims, and it's all around like a solid middle of the road on everything product. Like, the coverage is definitely not as full as this one from Pretty Vulgar. It will cover up imperfections. It's not as sheer as the Flesh one by any means, but it's gonna just kind of like perfect and even everything out and be a little bit more than what your tinted moisturizer or BB cream would be. Now, as a person with oily skin, I didn't find this to be incredibly long wearing on me. I do need to touch up with powder or blotting sheets after, I would say, 3 or 4 hours, because I do start to look shiny. But it's also not a foundation that looks terribly bad on your skin as it breaks down, because it has a more natural finish. It kind of just fades away gracefully over time. So all in all, I like this. I wouldn't say it's my personal favorite foundation for me and my skin type, but I think if you were someone with normal skin who had minor imperfections and not a ton of stuff that you were looking to cover up, or if you have a preference for foundations that look more natural on the skin and you don't like the whole mask face, I think you would love this foundation. Like, I understand why it kind of had cult classic status and why so many people have bought this and raved about it. I think it has a very wide audience of appeal, because it's not too matte, it's not too dewy, it's not too full coverage, it's not too sheer, it's just like Goldilocks. It's just right in the middle. The powder, on the other hand, I actually really did love. And it's funny because I remember when this launched, a bunch of YouTubers got it, they were talking about it, and a lot of people seemed to really enjoy this. And then it just fell off the face of the earth like so many other makeup products. But it's a beautiful setting powder. It's very lightweight, finely milled, very blurring on the skin. It doesn't make your skin look cakey. It doesn't make your skin look dry. It just kind of sets everything down really nicely. Now, if you already have a setting powder on hand that basically does the same thing, do you need to go out and buy this one to try it? Absolutely not. But if you're in the market for a setting powder and you don't mind shelling out the money for a high-end product, I think this one is really nice. The pressed powder, on the other hand, I wasn't as much of a fan of, and I'm a little bit picky when it comes to powder foundations and pressed powders because I do enjoy wearing them so much, but I kind of have high standards. The Wander Beauty Wanderlust powder foundation is like my all-time favorite, and I really have had a hard time finding anything that comes close to that guy. This honestly reminds me a lot of the Milani, I think it's their Conceal and Perfect pressed powder. It's something very similar to this where you can use it to both set your makeup or you could use it all by itself as a powder foundation. I definitely prefer this as a setting powder over like a lighter coverage base than I do wearing it all on its own because I don't find that it has a ton of coverage. So if you try to really build it up to get the coverage on your skin, it can kind of start to look cakey and dry. But the texture of the powder itself, I mean, it's very smooth and creamy. It feels really nice to the touch. It looks pretty blurring on the skin. Like if you don't go in too heavy-handed with this, I think it can look nice, which is why I think it's better paired with a base that already has a little bit of coverage versus just trying to use it all on its own. And then finally, we have the Mr. Perfect foundation brush. This guy is actually a really unique foundation brush. I don't own anything else in my collection that has exactly this shape. It's very wide on one end, but then kind of pinched in the other. So you can cover a lot of territory on like your cheeks and your jaw, but you can also really like buff around the nose and get in like the nooks and crannies, kind of get right up under the eye really easily. It also is constructed really well. The bristles are very soft and they are super, super dense. So you're not gonna get a lot of streakiness with this guy, and it doesn't suck up a ton of your product because it doesn't like just fall in between the bristles. It kind of lays more nicely on top of them. So I actually have really been enjoying using this. It's just kind of a pricey brush. I think it retails for $29. It's definitely somewhere in the $20 price point range, which is a lot for a single brush. And pricey really is a matter of personal opinion. I'm sure there are many people out there that will drop $30, $40 in a brush without batting an eye, and there are other people that feel like anything that's double digits or higher is outside of their budget. So it's really gonna kind of depend on how much you feel comfortable spending. If you were considering buying this brush or you saw it in a set and you were wondering if it was any good, yes, I do think it's actually a really nice foundation brush. Do you need to go out and spend almost $30 on it? No, not necessarily. There are other things that are pretty decent and will apply your foundation just as nicely. But I will give it to this brush for definitely making things fast just because of the size of it. Like you can blend your foundation out really quickly and really nicely with this guy. So while we're on the topic of brushes, I do have a couple other ones I wanted to update you guys on. I have the Juno Babe brushes I was sent over, and then also this little Real Techniques contouring brush I picked up a little while ago. So let's start out with the contouring brush. Now, this is part of Real Techniques' Blush Crush Volume 3 collection, I believe, and I 100% bought this because I think the design of it is so cute. I love the like funky iridescent ombre situation going on with the handle and the little blue tipped brushes. I just thought it was very like futuristic looking, but also kind of chic. Of all of the Brush Crush lines that Real Techniques has launched, this style is hands down my favorite. And of all the brushes that were available, I felt like this would be the one that would be the most unique to my collection. I do really enjoy these little angled brushes, and this one's quite petite, so I thought it would be really nice for contouring, getting right up under my cheekbones because I have a pretty small face. Sometimes like contouring brushes are a little bit more than I need, so I thought this would work nicely for me. And I will say, as far as function goes, I have no complaints with this brush. It's very soft, it's not too dense, so if you want a nice blended soft contour, like this will definitely give it to you. It also seems to wash really well. I haven't had any shedding or any issues in that respect. The one thing I will say that I don't love is that it feels flimsy. Like, this handle feels like I could just snap it in half. It's a very, very light plastic. The ferrule is metal and feels nice, so it's kind of a weird way that it's weighted because the handle is so light at the tip and it's so much heavier at the end. So I don't love that. I wish that the rest of this handle felt a little bit more substantial in the hand, especially knowing that this is a slightly more pricey brush for Real Techniques. I think this guy retails for $12, and Real Techniques has a lot of brushes that I think are under 10 or around that price point. So their brush crush line is usually like a little bit more high-end, a little bit fancier than their regular brushes. And I guess if I was expecting a little bit more luxury, aside from just the aesthetic being really pretty, I would just like want it to feel like it was worth the extra money, you know? And then as far as the Juno Babe brushes go, these are also in a similar price point. Most of these brushes retail between $10 to $15, which is significantly more than Juno & Co.'s other brushes. Their black ones that they've had for a while, I think those retail between like $4 and $6 a piece. So this line is supposed to be like a step up from that. It's supposed to be a little bit more luxurious, much like Brush Crush is compared to the other Real Techniques brushes. Now, I'm pretty sure you can buy these guys in bundles. You might be able to buy all the brushes together at a discount. I know you can definitely buy the face brushes together and the eye brushes together as a discount as well. But all in all, I've been pretty pleased with these. They're all synthetic brushes. The bristles are really, really soft. I feel like the texture of them is a little bit different from other synthetic brushes I've used. They almost, to me, feel and look more like a natural hairbrush. It's almost like they're less plasticky. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like if you were to see these up close, you would know what I was talking about. I also really love the design of these brushes. I think they did a beautiful job coming up with the aesthetic, the gray and white bristles, this like textured metal ferrule with the blush pink plastic, like soft touch handle. Super stunning. The one downside, and it is a pretty significant downside, or could be to some, is that I find these bristles are prone to staining, especially with the eye brushes where you might be using like very pigmented eyeshadows on them. Like my little crease brush here is kind of already permanently stained orange, and I've used it several times and washed it several times, but at this point I feel like it's never going to be white again. So depending on how much that may or may not bother you, like it may not be an issue. If you can get over the staining, I think they are really nice brushes. And I do really like the cuts that they included as well. For the face brushes, the only one that I really don't find myself using is this guy, which is a contouring brush. I'm not really a huge fan of these like flat-topped buffing brushes for contouring, and this guy is like especially small, maybe just like a little more petite than I would want. But I think depending on how you do your makeup, I'm sure there are some people that would find this style useful. But these other three guys I find myself reaching for all the time. You have a more tapered powder brush that's really great for setting the under eyes or even for like popping blush on the apples of your cheeks. Then you've got a nice standard, domed powder brush. It's not too big, so again, for a small face person, you can kind of really set nice and precisely all over your face. And a nice, bigger, fluffier, angled brush, which this I really like for more like bronzing all over the face for blush, whereas like if I wanted like a more precise contour, something that's nice and petite like this works well. And then the eye brushes I feel like are really, really nice for detail work or for people who have small eyes or hooded eyes. I think these are gonna be perfect for people that struggle with some standard other eyeshadow brushes being too large and kind of getting eyeshadow everywhere and outside of the places you want them to go. Like just for comparison, this is a Luxie eye shader brush, which I have big eyelids, so you could see this will allow me to pack color on my eyelid fairly easily. This is the Juno & Co. one, and it is itty bitty next to that guy. So I think if you had a much smaller lid, this would be a much easier brush to use to pack color on because it's not going to get like all up into your crease. But if you do have larger eyes like myself, this is still nice and functional for doing detail work and for placing color in very precise areas. So while I think most people could probably get use out of most of these brushes, I do just think they're going to be especially handy to those hooded eye, small eye individuals individuals. And then I also wanted to update you guys on the Juno Blur Makeup Setting Powder, which was sent over to me with the brushes. So I use this powder to set my face today, and I do think it does a very nice job of blurring out the look of pores and texture on your skin. It does start out being matte, as pretty much every powder does, but this is not what I would call a mattifying or oil controlling powder. Like, I already can tell I'm starting to get dewy, and I haven't been filming that long. That being said, if you are someone with normal, combination, or dry skin, you might actually really love this, because if you're not looking for a super matte powder, this will make your skin look really nice without making it look dry and textured. Again, is it so revolutionary that I feel like if you have 3 setting powders on hand that already work for you, that you need to go on and buy this? Definitely not. But for the right skin type, I think it's a solid setting powder. So it's funny, this next product, I could have sworn on my life I talked about in my August beauty report, but I definitely didn't. And I know I've mentioned it a few times recently, and maybe it's just that I've been obsessing over it lately and wearing it so much that I think I've been talking about it constantly. And that is the Jacquie Ina palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I have been absolutely loving this palette and using it to death in the last month. And I'm sorry if it's getting repetitive or if I've said it a bunch before, but it's just true. I really, really like this a lot. So to create the look that I'm wearing today on my eyes, I used a combination of ginger and edges in my crease. I put a little bit of credit in the outer corner. I have the color Zam all over my lid, and then Soleil as my inner corner. And it is just giving me all of the fall vibes. And that is what I've said about this palette a few times in the past. This color story in here is just a very fresh take on fall colors, in my opinion. We see a lot of the olive greens and the cranberries and the, like, you know, butter toffee-y kind of shades. Like, that's very standard for what we think of as fall. But this, I feel like it's just like a little bit edgier. Like, rather than your typical wine tone cranberry, you have Wiggalese, which is more of almost like a vibrant red metallic. You have the shade Shookington, which is a more vibrant red purple than a lot of like the plummy tones that you see, but you still have a lot of those warm, caramelly, pumpkin spice kind of vibes going on in here too. So I just find myself wanting to reach for this to create looks all the time, because I get very inspired by the color story. And regardless of how you feel about Jacquie Ina as a person, as an influencer, if you like the Anastasia Beverly Hills formula, this definitely is like on the same level as Modern Renaissance Soft Glam. If anything, I honestly think I like this better than my Soft Glam palette. Like, the formula that they developed for this palette is bomb. So I can say for sure, if this is something you've been considering getting, and the only reason why you haven't bought it is because you're not sure if it's going to be good or not, like, it's an amazing palette. Don't feel like you need to go out and buy it if you have a lot of color, you know, overlap in your collection with these shades, or if you're, you know, burned out on makeup. Like, I'm not trying to pressure you guys. I am just saying, if you are feeling the need for a fall palette, this is probably my favorite one that's come out in the last month or two. So let's move on to some skincare. I just have a couple of products to talk about today, because I don't like to bring too many new things into my skincare regimen at a time, just so that way my skin doesn't freak out. So the 3 newest products I've been testing are the Wander Beauty Layover Hydrating Ampoule and the Wander Beauty Do Not Disturb Overnight Repair Concentrate, and then the Glow Recipe Pineapple Seabright Serum. So let's start out with the Wander Beauty products first, because these are the ones I've been using the longest. I think I got sent them at the very end of August, and I've been using them pretty much every single night in conjunction with one another. So Layover is essentially like a supercharged serum. So this guy is supposed to really, really hydrate the skin. It's infused with what is in here: hyaluronic acid, beta-glucan, and birch juice. So basically it's just supposed to make your skin extra soft and extra hydrated, which I feel is what it does. But hydrating serums are pretty easy to come by, and there are plenty of them that are a little bit more affordable than this. So even though I like this, I think it smells nice, I think it feels nice, this to me is a little bit less unique as a product, so I don't necessarily feel like you have to go and like splurge and spend $30-something on this. Or it might be $40, I honestly really don't remember. This guy, however, I do feel is a little bit more unique, is a little bit more special, and may actually be worth the splurge to some people. So this guy is a retinoid product. It has 1% retinoid in the formulation, which from my understanding is fairly low. Now, I am someone who has been prescribed retinol before from my dermatologist as a way to treat my acne. Like, I did Retin-A Micro when I was a teenager, and then in my mid-20s, I had like a generic form of tretinoin for a while I was using. And if you don't know, retinol basically is a concentrated form of vitamin A, and it's supposed to help speed up the cell turnover process, so it can really help to like push the impurities out of your skin, get them to the surface, help to therefore minimize blackheads, whiteheads, texture. It also can help to minimize like the appearance of fine lines by keeping those cells like nice and new and healthy and keeping everything like plumped up. But to that point, it also can make your skin peel, it can cause irritation, and it's something most people usually have to like acclimate themselves to. I never really got that well adjusted to the prescription strength retinols. They always really dried my skin out. Although, to be honest, I probably wasn't using the best skincare at that time. Like, before I learned as much as I have learned in this beauty YouTube journey, I was using products that were way too harsh, like cleansers, and not using moisturizer. So that probably also could have been a reason why retinol hasn't worked well for me in the past. But I definitely believe in the science behind it, and I know it is an ingredient that works really well for people, so I was very curious about this, and knowing that it was a lower percentage, I felt like it probably would have a better chance of being less irritating to the skin. This guy is also infused with squalene and allantoin, which are supposed to be like nourishing, hydrating, skin rebalancing ingredients. Like, squalene is described as being very similar to skin's natural sebum, so it can kind of help to create that barrier, help to lock in moisture, and kind of discourage your skin from cranking out its own oil. So essentially, you have the retinol in a base of some nice hydrating, calming ingredients to help combat the potential irritation and dryness. And I found that this has not bothered my skin at all. The brand does recommend that you kind of ease your way into it, especially if you've never used retinol before. I walk on the wild side with my skincare, so I just started applying this every night, and I had zero problem with it whatsoever. No irritation, no peeling, no burning. My skin in the morning would just be smooth, it would be glowy, it would look really nice. So far I actually have been really impressed. I think it's going to take a little while for me to see any kind of visible difference with fine lines, because I've only been using it for about a month, and I think it would probably take more like 6 to 8 weeks to see those kinds of results. So this guy is definitely going to stay in my PM skincare routine. I'm going to continue to test it out and see how my skin improves. But so far, I feel like my skin has definitely been looking pretty good. I've had a few hormonal or stress-related breakouts here or there, but I feel like the spots have been fading relatively quickly afterwards. So yeah, as far as a retinol-based treatment product, I think this one is pretty nice. I like the fact that it wasn't irritating at all and it didn't dry my skin out. Just know, as like one little word of caution, there is lavender oil in here, so if you are allergic to lavender or you're sensitive to that ingredient, you may want to steer clear of this guy. And then finally, the Glow Recipe Pineapple Seabright Serum. I got this in my Boxy Luxe box a couple of weeks ago, and I've added this guy to my daytime skincare routine, and I honestly really am enjoying it. I'd wanted to try this product for such a long time because I've heard so many good things, so I was hoping that I would like it, and fortunately, I do. The smell is funky, I will say that. People talk about how it smells kind of like dog pee. It does have a very weird like after smell. When you first apply it, it doesn't seem so off. It smells kind of like pineapple, but then as you massage it in, it does smell kind of off, a little rancidy weird, but it's not something that I find lingers. Like, once I put my moisturizer on, I don't really smell it anymore, so it doesn't give me a headache and it doesn't bother me. And I think where this guy really shines is the texture. It's a very, very silky serum. I don't know if there's silicone in this. I'm gonna have to look up the ingredients, but it almost feels slippery, like that silicone kind of texture, and that it just glides over your skin and feels like it's blurring out all of your pores. I feel like it wears really nicely under makeup. It doesn't make me extra greasy throughout the day. And again, all in all, I feel like my skin has been doing relatively well. Now, obviously, I am using this guy at night, so there is a little bit of the question of how much is this versus how much is this. I was using this before I started using this guy, and I feel like the addition of this serum in the morning has only made things better, which leads me to believe that this guy is doing something good for my skin. I think what would be interesting though would be to compare the ingredients in this to my other 2 vitamin C serums I have to see how they compare with one another. Vitamin C is such a hot ingredient in skincare right now, so I'm kind of curious to know like which one of the various vitamin C serums I have is truly the best. So if that's something you guys would be interested in, leave a comment and let me know. All right, guys, so I think that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on all of these products. If you did, I hope you will consider giving this video a thumbs up. I always really appreciate your support so much. And if this was your first time here at my channel, or maybe you've been here 2 or 3 times but you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will consider clicking that button and coming and hanging out again with me in the future. Also, as a little aside, if you guys have not watched my lifestyle, food, beauty haul that I just posted, there's a giveaway in that video for some Derma E skincare. So if you want to learn more about how to enter, I would check that video out. I'll link it for you guys up here in the cards. But yeah, I think that's about it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.